Let's talk about Kandi Burruss and Todd Tucker, because this divorce didn't just come out of nowhere. It came out of years of tension, quiet resentment, and red flags people ignored because the checks were clearing and the cameras were rolling.
Break up and now I gotta take care of that anyway.
Right, and that's why
So,
to me,
does that make
I would
sense?
think it would make more sense to say, hey, well, if we ever break up, we would
Sell the house.
We would sell this house
Put you in
and you would
something
stay in something
you could afford.
Not put you in the hood and that, especially if we got kids together.
Right.
But, maybe it wouldn't be this house.
Well, it could have been a scheme that Todd set up for him to come to you with the Burruss.
From the outside, they looked like one of those couples you're supposed to root for. Long history, built something together, married over a decade, kids, business ventures, reality TV success, the whole Black Love Wins package. But the moment Kandi finally filed for divorce, everything people thought they knew about that marriage started unraveling fast. And once you step back and really look at it, this wasn't sudden. This was overdue.
I'm back with another opinion. Y'all might not like it, but let's talk about it. So this whole Kandi and Todd situation is getting out of hand. I did not expect us to be where we are now. So Kandi basically filed a motion or whatever, allegedly, with the court saying that Todd is not the dad he appears to be. Todd is the social media dad. Social media dad's like, come here, kids, take this picture. Okay, once the picture's gone, y'all get up out my face. Kandi has said that she is the one taking care of the kids, financially, and Todd is not contributing to anything, and he's going on all these vacations. Now, if you go back and look, you'll see when the divorce first occurred, you saw Todd going on vacation after vacation after vacation, right? I'm not going to put him down because that might have been his way of coping, right? My thing is, I don't even know how I love Kandi, but you always saw Todd with the kids. He was always with the kids, and he was also with Kandi all the time. So maybe he deserved a vacation. I don't care if nobody says when you travel to work, sometimes it is a vacation. But let's get back to the story. I am personally so surprised at the situation, but we all I'm not gonna say we saw it coming because I did not. What I will say is I had been watching Kandi. Kandi went on Amazon and she was saying, or whatever she was, and she was saying basically Todd wanted to take the kids with him for the break, right? For the holiday break. And Kandi basically, to me now, she made it seem like she invited herself on the trip because she said Todd wanted to take the kids. And in my opinion, that was basically him saying, I want to take the kids, I don't really want you to come. And she was, I guess we all gonna go together, right? When somebody says, I guess we're all gonna go together, that means that you are volunteering yourself to go somewhere you weren't invited. I feel like Todd is not a social, I just don't feel like Todd is a social media dad based off what we saw online. He was taking these kids to school when we knew Kandi was going elsewhere to make money. So let's not act like Todd is a deadbeat, because I don't think he's a deadbeat, okay? Maybe now that this divorce is going on, Kandi is a little bit more at home, and she's realizing when I'm at home, Todd's not at home. But in my opinion, I feel like Todd is the one who wanted the divorce. And I could be so wrong, but I feel like he is the one who wanted the divorce, because if you go back and look at previous seasons of Real Housewives of Atlanta, Todd was just asking Kandi to stay home, put a little more time into the kids, into him. And Kandi just seemed like she had so many barriers to why she could not do that. I don't know, y'all. I have much more to say about that, but that's all I'm gonna say right now. But I am still gonna hope that Kandi and Todd work it out.
Kandi officially ended the marriage in late November 2025, and while the announcement itself felt calm, almost controlled, what followed immediately told a very different story. Within days, it became clear that both of them were already moving in completely opposite directions, emotionally, legally, and strategically. What really threw people off at first was how normal everything looked right after the split went public. Kandi still showed up, still smiled, still handled family responsibilities like nothing was wrong. Just days after announcing the divorce, she and Todd reunited for their youngest daughter, Blaze's birthday party. Snow White theme, princess dress, face paint, unicorn vibes. The whole thing looked picture perfect. Todd even posted about it, talking about how much Blaze makes him laugh and how blessed he feels as a father. But here's the thing. Kandi's post told a quieter story. She celebrated Blaze, yes, but Todd was noticeably absent from her pictures. And when people clocked that immediately, Kandi stepped in to clarify that Todd had come earlier, eaten with them, and just wasn't there for photos. Now, maybe that sounds harmless on the surface, but anyone who's ever gone through a breakup knows that's exactly the phase where both people are pretending things are fine in public while privately getting their exit plans together. And Todd, he wasn't pretending. A few days later, Thanksgiving rolled around, and Kandi posted family photos from her gathering. Her children were there. Todd's daughter, Kayla, was there too, which honestly didn't surprise anyone who's followed Kandi long enough. She's always maintained relationships with children connected to her past, even after relationships ended. That part tracks. What stood out again was who wasn't in the pictures. Todd. Kandi once again stepped in to manage the narrative, explaining that Todd had come earlier and left before photos were taken. She clearly wanted to shut down speculation before it could spiral. But behind the scenes, Todd wasn't focused on optics anymore. He was focused on control. By December 1st, reports surfaced that Todd had filed for primary custody of their 2 younger children, Ace and Blaze. His reasoning? Kandi's work schedule. He claimed the kids were living with him because she was traveling and would continue to travel. Now pay attention to how that move was framed. He praised her as a mother, which is almost always the preface before someone makes a bold legal move. Compliment first, then strike. Because the goal isn't to insult, it's to position. This wasn't about concern. This was about leverage. And that became even clearer when Todd turned his attention to the one thing that had always been the elephant in their marriage, the prenup. Let's be very clear about one thing. Kandi didn't play about her money. Ever. Before they got married in 2014, she made sure every dot was connected and every line was signed. The prenup was strict, no alimony, no extended stay in her home. If the marriage ended, Todd had 30 days to pack up and move on. Clean, clear, non-negotiable. Todd knew this. He saw the document before the wedding. He had concerns back then, and Kandi's mother, Mama Joyce, sounded the alarm immediately. She never trusted Todd's intentions, and she never hid it. People laughed her off as overbearing, bitter, or dramatic. But now, folks are looking back and asking if she saw something everyone else ignored. Todd signed the prenup anyway, right before the wedding. Fast forward to the divorce filing, and suddenly, Todd's story changed. He began challenging the prenup, claiming it wasn't properly executed because his lawyer wasn't present at the time of signing. Court documents reflected that questions were being raised about its enforceability. And on top of that, he requested division of marital assets accumulated during their 11-year marriage. That's when the tone of this divorce shifted, because this stopped looking like 2 people separating peacefully and started looking like a power struggle. Then another layer dropped, one that Kandi didn't immediately address publicly, but that leaked through media reports and insider conversations. Kandi discovered Todd had been communicating with other women behind her back. And here's where things get complicated. Kandi has never pretended to be traditional. She's been open about unconventional dynamics, about exploration, about honesty being the boundary. But what crossed the line for her wasn't curiosity. It was secrecy. Talking to other women without transparency wasn't part of whatever understanding existed between them. And once that trust broke, there was nothing left to negotiate. Days later, Kandi went live and admitted the process had been overwhelming. She talked about emotional whiplash, feeling strong one moment and completely drained the next. She admitted she sometimes wanted to respond to online commentary, but stopped herself because protecting her peace mattered more than winning internet arguments. She also made one thing crystal clear. She doesn't regret the family they built. And that distinction matters, because regret and grief aren't the same thing. On December 4th, Kandi posted a carousel of smiling photos, but the caption told the real story. She described feeling emotionally shattered. She explained that she tends to internalize pain, carrying it quietly, even while surrounded by people who have no idea what she's holding together. She shared lyrics she'd written years ago about wanting to scream just to release pressure. And that's when the internet stopped laughing and started paying attention. Because suddenly, old footage started resurfacing. Clips people once dismissed as jokes now felt uncomfortable. Todd talking about how a woman should cater to him, cook for him, serve him, stroke his ego, treat him like the prize. Kandi had even questioned him in one clip about why that relationship didn't work out. In hindsight, it wasn't funny. It was revealing. Old therapy sessions reappeared too. Moments where they admitted intimacy had declined and their work lives had overtaken their emotional connection. Todd criticizing women for receiving expensive gifts, questioning what they did to deserve them. And slowly, a bigger picture emerged. This wasn't about one argument. This wasn't about one betrayal. This was about imbalance. Kandi built an empire, music, TV, businesses, brands. Todd benefited from that structure. But over time, entitlement crept in. Expectations replaced gratitude. Support turned into dependency. And when someone who didn't build the foundation starts acting like they own the house, resentment grows quietly until it explodes. Todd's custody request, his challenge to the prenup, his sudden urgency to secure assets. None of it reads like heartbreak. It reads like fear. Fear of lifestyle, fear of losing access, fear of losing control. Kandi didn't fall apart because she lost a husband. She cracked because she realized how long she carried the weight alone. And once someone reaches that realization, the marriage is already over. even if the paperwork is just catching up. Once the dust settled from the initial filings, the conversation around Kandi and Todd shifted from shock to analysis. People stopped asking what happened and started asking how long had this been broken. And the more clips resurfaced, the clearer it became that the cracks weren't new. They'd just been edited out. Because when you really look back, their content told a very different story than the one people wanted to believe. Kandi was always the engine, the planner, the producer, the one managing schedules, brands, kids, studios, contracts, appearances, and emotions all at once. Todd, on the other hand, often looked like a man tagging along for the ride. Not in the beginning, but gradually, slowly, comfortably. And that shift matters. At first, it works. One partner builds, the other supports. But over time, support turns into expectation. Expectation turns into entitlement. And entitlement quietly poisons intimacy. Fans started noticing moments they'd once laughed at. Kandi snapping at Todd jokingly, snatching plates of food from him on camera, correcting him sharply while smiling. At the time, it was framed as playful banter. Now, it reads like irritation leaking through a forced performance. And Todd wasn't innocent either. He often looked disengaged, on his phone during shoots, rolling his eyes, making little comments under his breath, laughing, but not naturally. It was the kind of laugh someone does when they're tired or pretending. There's one thing about influencer couples people don't like to admit. Once the brand depends on the relationship, they're being allowed to fail naturally. You don't break up when you're unhappy. You break up when you can't fake it anymore. Kandi was still selling joy. Todd was already checking out. What made this divorce especially uncomfortable for fans is that Kandi didn't outgrow Todd quietly. She surpassed him publicly. Her name carried weight on its own. Award shows, red carpets, major industry rooms. Her friendships expanded, her influence widened. Meanwhile, Todd's identity became increasingly tethered to hers. That kind of imbalance creates resentment on both sides. The person doing the work feels unsupported. The person benefiting feels overshadowed. And instead of addressing it honestly, couples like this often perform happiness until resentment becomes their default language. That's exactly what those resurfaced videos show. Kandi bragging about not being Todd's piece. Todd openly admitting he expects to be catered to. Kandi exaggerating her antics for content while Todd looks embarrassed. Todd making snide comments about her outfits. Kandi pushing buttons because irritation had nowhere else to go. That wasn't humor. That was friction. And friction doesn't disappear. It just waits. When Todd publicly stated that he wanted to separate before Kandi filed, it raised another uncomfortable question. Did Kandi actually want this to end? Or did she finally accept that it already had? Because when a woman stays as long as Kandi did, it's rarely because she doesn't see the signs. It's because she keeps hoping effort will outweigh reality. But effort can't fix entitlement. The moment Todd challenged the prenup, the optics changed completely. That wasn't a man protecting his children. That wasn't a man confused by heartbreak. That was a man panicking over access. The prenup wasn't a surprise. The rules weren't hidden. The terms were agreed to. Trying to undo it after the marriage collapsed didn't make him look blindsided. It made him look strategic. And strategy is the opposite of romance. Then there's the custody move. Let's be honest. Filing for primary custody while praising the other parent is one of the oldest plays in the book. It allows you to look reasonable while asserting dominance. It shifts the power dynamic without appearing aggressive. But people clocked it immediately. Kandi didn't suddenly become an absent mother. She didn't suddenly stop prioritizing her kids. She simply continued working, the same way she always had. The difference now was that Todd was no longer benefiting from that sacrifice. And once that safety net disappeared, fear set in. Fear makes people do things they never planned to do. Fear makes people rewrite history. Fear makes people reach for control instead of accountability. That's why this divorce feels less like a breakup and more like a reckoning. Kandi admitted she was emotionally broken. Not because she didn't love Todd, but because she finally realized how uneven the emotional labor had been. She held the marriage together while slowly losing herself inside it. That kind of exhaustion doesn't come from one betrayal. It comes from years of carrying what someone else refuses to hold. And when you reach that point, peace stops being negotiable. Todd's old comments about women, about being catered to, about entitlement, they didn't just age badly. They exposed a mindset that no longer fit the life Kandi was building. Because how do you sustain intimacy with someone who sees himself as the reward when you're the one creating the world he lives in? You can't. The divorce didn't start when Kandi filed papers. It started when admiration turned into expectation. when partnership turned into convenience, when love turned into management. And now that the curtain's been pulled back, people aren't just reacting to the split. They're rewatching the entire relationship with new eyes. And the conclusion many are coming to is simple. Kandi didn't leave because she failed at marriage. She left because she finally chose herself. And Todd, he's fighting not for love, but for what love provided him. And that difference explains everything. By the time Kandi finally said she was done, the marriage had already been over in every way that mattered. What the paperwork did was simply make it official. The emotional separation had been happening quietly for years, masked by smiles, content, and commitment to a brand that no longer reflected the reality inside the house. Because here's the part people don't talk about enough. Kandi didn't just lose a husband. She lost the illusion that hard work could fix everything. She carried the family, the finances, the businesses, the visibility, and the emotional glue that held it all together. And when that kind of weight goes unshared for too long, love doesn't disappear overnight. It erodes. That's why her words hit the way they did when she finally spoke. She wasn't angry. She wasn't dramatic. She was tired. The kind of tired that comes from holding yourself together so well that no one notices you're falling apart. Her post about feeling emotionally broken wasn't a cry for sympathy. It was a release. An acknowledgement that she'd been swallowing disappointment, frustration, and loneliness for far too long. Smiling through it because that's what strong women are taught to do. And once she stopped swallowing it, everything started to surface. People began to understand that this divorce wasn't sudden. It was delayed. Kandi didn't wake up one day and quit. She endured until endurance started costing her peace. And when peace becomes more valuable than partnership, there's no going back. Todd's moves after the filing made that even clearer, questioning the prenup, pushing for custody leverage, reframing the narrative. Those weren't actions of a man trying to save his marriage. Those were actions of a man trying to protect what the marriage gave him. And that distinction matters. Because fighting for love looks very different from fighting for access. The internet may debate who did what, who grew apart, who changed. But when you zoom out, the pattern is familiar. One partner builds the foundation, the other settles into the comfort of it. Over time, appreciation fades into expectation. And once entitlement replaces gratitude, the relationship starts collapsing from the inside out. Kandi didn't fail Todd. Todd failed to evolve alongside her. And that's the part Mama Joyce clocked years ago. Not because she was bitter, but because she understood dynamics. She saw the imbalance before it became obvious. She knew that a woman who carries everything eventually gets tired of carrying someone else too. Now Kandi is choosing herself. Not loudly, not recklessly, but firmly. She's still showing up for her kids, still working, still creating, still standing. But this time, she's doing it without dragging emotional weight that was never hers to hold alone. And Todd, he's learning the hard way that comfort doesn't equal contribution, and access doesn't equal entitlement. This divorce isn't just the end of a marriage. It's the dismantling of a dynamic that no longer served the woman doing most of the labor. It's a reminder that love doesn't survive on convenience, and that longevity means nothing if reciprocity is missing. Kandi didn't walk away because she stopped loving. She walked away because she finally started choosing peace over performance. And once a woman reaches that point, there's nothing left to negotiate. Now, I want to hear from you. Do you think this marriage was doomed long before the papers were filed? Or do you think fame, money, and expectations finally cracked it? Drop your thoughts in the comments, hit that like button, subscribe if you're rocking with the breakdown, and I'll catch you on the next one.